Build yourself in silence. The Power of Private Growth, written and published by Echo Elevate. Introduction. The quiet path to greatness. There comes a time in every life when noise no longer helps. When applause fades, opinions blur, and only your own voice matters. That moment is where real growth begins. Not in the spotlight, not in the crowd, but in silence. This book is about that silence. The kind that shapes you, refines you, and rebuilds you from the inside out. It's not about hiding from the world. It's about returning to yourself. About learning, building, and strengthening in private, so that when you do step forward you are unshakable. Most people seek validation before transformation. They share every move before they've even taken the first step. But real progress doesn't announce itself. It grows quietly, in the background, away from judgment and noise. That's where discipline is born. That's where clarity forms. That's where you build yourself. This audiobook is your guide through that quiet process. You'll learn how to grow without applause, how to stay focused in a distracted world, how to protect your vision, control your emotions, and master your inner world before the outer one responds. Each chapter is simple, direct, and designed to speak to your daily life. No complex theories, no empty motivation, just clear, powerful principles you can apply, one quiet moment at a time. As you listen, remember the goal is not to make noise. The goal is to make progress. The most powerful transformations don't happen in front of others. They happen in silence. When it's just you, your thoughts, and your commitment to becoming better. So take a deep breath, step into the quiet, and let's begin the journey of building yourself in silence. Chapter 1. The Power of Being Unseen. There's something deeply powerful about being unseen. It's not about being invisible. It's about choosing to grow without needing to be noticed. We live in a world that rewards visibility. People share their every move. They announce every goal, every thought, every tiny victory, as if progress only matters when others approve. But true strength doesn't come from being seen. It comes from being prepared, and preparation often happens in silence. When no one is watching, you have freedom. Freedom to fail quietly. Freedom to learn without judgment. Freedom to explore who you really are. That's where transformation begins. Not under the lights, but behind the curtain. The hidden work that builds strength. Think of a seed buried beneath the soil. It grows in darkness. It pushes through dirt, unseen and unnoticed. But one day, it breaks through the surface. Strong, alive, ready to face the sun. Your growth works the same way. The unseen work, the quiet reading, the early mornings, the late nights, the small acts of discipline. These are the roots of your future strength. The world won't clap for you in those moments, but one day, it will. The unseen effort is not wasted. It's stored. Every quiet moment you spend improving yourself adds invisible value to your life. And over time, that value becomes visible in your results, in your confidence, and in your peace. Why being unseen builds real character. When no one's watching, you meet your true self. There's no performance, no pressure to impress, just you, your habits, your thoughts, your effort. That's where integrity is built. Because character isn't formed in public, it's forged in private. When you work hard without recognition, you train your mind to value effort over praise. You start doing things for the right reasons, not to be noticed, but to become better. This is what separates the strong from the superficial. The world often confuses attention with success, but attention fades. Character endures. Every unseen act of discipline becomes a silent investment in who you're becoming. The story of quiet preparation. There's a story about a sculptor who spent years working in silence. He shaped stones day after day, in a small workshop. No one knew his name. No one visited his studio. But one morning, when the statue was finally unveiled, people were amazed. They asked him, "How did you make something so perfect?" He smiled and said, "I didn't make it perfect today. I made it perfect over many quiet years." That's the lesson. The moment of recognition is short. The years of preparation are long. But it's in those quiet years that mastery is born. Modern distraction and the lost art of privacy. Today, it's rare to find people comfortable with being unseen. Social media has made privacy feel like invisibility, and invisibility feels like failure. But the truth is, your best work doesn't need an audience to be real. Growth that happens in silence is deeper and more stable. It's not built on trends or approval. It's built on purpose. When you don't need others to notice your progress, you become unstoppable. You stop performing and start transforming. Imagine spending a year focusing on your craft, your body, your mind, without telling anyone. When you reappear, people won't recognize you. They'll say, "You've changed," and you'll smile, because they'll never understand how much you worked when no one was watching. Actionable insights. How to grow quietly. Keep your goals private until they're real. Protect your vision from early criticism and doubt. You don't owe everyone an explanation. Let your results speak when the time is right. Value effort over exposure. Focus on doing the work, not proving that you're working. Every hour you invest in private builds confidence that lasts. Embrace solitude as strength. Learn to enjoy your own company. Use silence to think, plan, and recharge. Solitude is not loneliness. It's clarity. Practice invisible discipline. Build habits that no one sees. Wake up early. Study more. Improve your craft quietly. The invisible effort always leads to visible success. Measure growth by consistency, not applause. Progress isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's small and steady. What matters is that you keep going, even when no one notices. The inner shift from needing validation to owning your growth. Being unseen teaches you independence. It frees you from needing approval. You begin to trust your path, even when it's lonely. And that's the moment true confidence begins. Validation feels good, but it's temporary. Self-respect lasts forever. When your worth no longer depends on what others think, you become unstoppable. This doesn't mean you isolate yourself. It means you become selective. You choose silence over noise. You choose focus over distraction. You choose peace over popularity. Every great builder, thinker, and leader once spent time in obscurity, learning, failing, refining, growing. That season of being unseen wasn't a pause. It was preparation. The gift of the unseen season. If you're in a quiet season right now, don't rush through it. Don't mistake silence for stagnation. You're not being ignored. You're being shaped. Every strong foundation is laid underground. Every powerful transformation begins where no one can see it. So keep going. Keep building. Keep showing up. One day the world will see what silence has been preparing. Closing thought. The power of being unseen is not about hiding. It's about honoring your private growth. It's about choosing progress over praise and substance over spotlight. When you learn to value the quiet seasons, you build the kind of strength that doesn't fade when attention fades. You build something unshakable, a version of yourself that doesn't need to be seen to know its worth. Because the most powerful transformations happen long before the world notices, and long after it forgets. So embrace the silence, grow in private, and let time reveal what effort has been creating all along. Chapter 2. Silence. The training ground of the mind. Silence is not empty. It's full of answers. In a world that never stops talking, silence has become rare, but it's in that quiet space where the mind finally learns to listen, to observe, to reflect, and to grow stronger. Noise distracts. Silence teaches. When you strip away the voices, the opinions, the endless stream of information, what's left is you, your thoughts, your emotions, your inner dialogue. And that is where mastery begins, the hidden power within stillness. Most people fear silence because it feels like nothing is happening. But silence isn't nothing. It's the space where everything important starts to take shape. Think about an athlete. Before a competition, before the roar of the crowd, there's a quiet moment. Eyes closed, mind focused. That silence before the action is not weakness. It's power, gathering itself. The same applies to you. When you learn to sit with silence, you give your mind a chance to reset. You become more aware of your thoughts and how they shape your emotions and actions. And when you control your thoughts, you control your life. Noise, the enemy of clarity. Every day we're surrounded by noise. Literal and mental. Phones buzz, notifications ping, opinions flood your screen. Even your own thoughts can become a constant storm of worries and comparisons. Noise keeps you reactive. It keeps you distracted from what truly matters. And here's the danger. When the mind is always reacting, it can't reflect, it can't create, it can't grow. Silence, on the other hand, gives the mind space to breathe. In silence, thoughts slow down, patterns become visible. You start to notice what's working and what's holding you back. That awareness is the beginning of transformation. If you never pause to think, you repeat the same mistakes over and over. Silence breaks that cycle, training the mind through quiet observation. Silence is not just the absence of sound. It's a form of mental training. It's where you practice observation without judgment. It's where you start to see yourself clearly. Imagine watching your own thoughts like waves on the shore. Some are calm, some are wild, but all eventually pass. You learn not to chase them or fear them, just to understand them. That's mental discipline, the ability to stay centered even when your mind wants to run away. It's like strengthening a muscle. The more you practice silence, the stronger your awareness becomes. And awareness is the foundation of wisdom. The story of the monk and the mirror. There's an old story about a young monk who struggled with anger. Every time someone offended him, he reacted. His master told him to spend 7 days in silence, alone with his thoughts. At first he hated it. His mind shouted louder than any crowd. But slowly he began to notice something. The anger didn't come from others. It came from within him. He wasn't reacting to people. He was reacting to his own untrained thoughts. When he returned, the master asked, "What did you learn?" The monk said, "I saw myself clearly for the first time." That's the gift of silence. It acts as a mirror. It doesn't show you what you want to see. It shows you what's true. The science of silence. Even science confirms what ancient wisdom has always known. Studies show that silence lowers stress, improves focus, and increases creativity. When the brain is not flooded with constant noise, it reorganizes itself, it repairs, it grows stronger connections between clarity and action. Silence isn't passive, it's restorative. It helps you process emotions, make better decisions and find balance. Think of it as mental exercise. Every quiet moment is a workout for your awareness. You can't think deeply in chaos. You can only think deeply in calm, and calm is created through intentional silence. Practical ways to practice silence. Here are simple ways to make silence a daily part of your life. Morning stillness. Start your day in silence for 5 minutes. No phone, no music, no talking. Just breathe and listen. You'll be surprised how centered you feel. Silent walks. Go for a walk without headphones. Notice your surroundings. Listen to the rhythm of your steps. Let your thoughts come and go freely. Quiet reflection before sleep. End your day in silence. Think about what went well and what didn't. Learn from it. Let your mind rest before tomorrow. Silence in conflict. When emotions rise, pause. Silence gives you power over reaction. It allows reason to speak before anger does. Digital silence. Turn off notifications for a while. Each day, the world won't fall apart, but your mind will find peace. These small practices, done daily, train your mind to stay calm in chaos and clear in confusion. From restless to reflective. At first, silence can feel uncomfortable. You'll want to fill it with something. Music, scrolling, noise. But if you stay with it, something changes. The discomfort fades, and understanding begins. You start hearing your inner voice again, the one that gets drowned by constant noise. You realize that most of your answers were never outside you. They were inside, waiting for you to quiet down and listen. That's when silence becomes your ally. It becomes your teacher. It turns restlessness into reflection, and reflection into strength. The mind as a garden. Your mind is like a garden. If you never stop to tend it, weeds of doubt and distraction take over. Silence is how you pull those weeds. It gives you the time and space to clear what doesn't belong. When you spend time in silence, you start planting better thoughts, seeds of purpose, gratitude, and focus. And over time those seeds grow into clarity and confidence. Just like a garden, your mind doesn't bloom overnight. It takes patience, but with consistent quiet care, it becomes a place of peace instead of chaos. The reward of a trained mind. A silent mind is not empty. It's focused. It's deliberate. It's strong. When your mind learns to stay calm amid noise, you gain control over your life. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop rushing and start understanding. You stop being pulled by the world and start leading yourself. This is the true reward of silence. It's not just peace. It's power. The kind of power that comes from knowing yourself, trusting yourself, and staying steady, no matter what's happening around you. Closing thought. Silence is not escape. It's elevation. It takes courage to face your thoughts without distraction. But that courage builds wisdom. And wisdom builds strength. Every moment you spend in silence trains your mind to see clearly and act wisely. You don't need the world to be quiet. You just need to be. So take time each day to return to silence. Let it teach you. Let it shape you. And soon you'll find that your greatest growth isn't happening in the noise of life. It's happening in the quiet between your thoughts. Chapter 3. The Art of Withdrawing from Noise. Noise is everywhere. It follows you when you wake up. It travels with you through the day. It lives in your pocket, glowing on a small screen. The world has become louder than ever. But here's the truth. Peace doesn't come from controlling the noise outside. It comes from managing the noise within. Learning to withdraw from noise is not about running away. It's about returning to yourself. It's about creating distance between what demands your attention and what deserves it. The constant stream. Every few seconds, something calls your name. A message, a headline, a notification. Each one asks for a tiny piece of your attention until your mind feels full but strangely empty. You scroll, you read, you respond, but deep down, you feel restless. That's the effect of noise. It keeps you busy but unfocused. It gives you information but steals your clarity. Noise doesn't always sound like sound. Sometimes it's digital. Sometimes it's emotional. Sometimes it's the endless chatter in your own mind telling you you're not enough. To grow in silence, you must learn to step away, not from life, but from the constant pull of everything that doesn't matter. The story of the musician. There was once a young musician who practiced every day in a crowded city. He loved music, but the city never slept. Cars honked. People shouted. Sirens wailed through the night. No matter how hard he tried, his notes were swallowed by the city's noise. One day, his teacher told him, "Go to the mountains, take your instrument and play in silence." He did. For days he played alone, surrounded by stillness. At first it felt strange, almost empty, but then something happened. He began to hear the space between his notes. He learned that music isn't made by sound alone, it's shaped by silence. When he returned to the city, his playing was different, calmer, deeper. Every note had meaning. That's what silence does. It gives shape to what truly matters. It makes you more intentional, more precise, and more powerful in how you live and create. Noise as a thief of focus. Noise is not just an irritation, it's a thief. It steals your attention. It steals your presence. And if you're not careful, it steals your peace. You can't build yourself when your energy is scattered. You can't find purpose if your mind is constantly reacting. Every time you check your phone out of habit, you're not choosing your thoughts. They're choosing you. And that's how quiet dreams are drowned by loud distractions. Withdrawing from noise is an act of strength. It's not about isolation, it's about intention. It's the decision to protect your mental space like sacred ground. The skill of selective attention. You can't avoid all noise, but you can choose what enters your mind. Think of your attention as currency. Whatever you spend it on grows. If you spend it on gossip, you grow worry. If you spend it on learning, you grow wisdom. The art of withdrawing from noise begins with awareness. Ask yourself, what am I letting in? Does this help me grow? Or does it drain me? The goal isn't silence everywhere, it's clarity within. You can stand in the middle of chaos and still be calm, if you've trained your focus. Practical ways to withdraw from noise. Here are simple ways to build a quieter, stronger mind. Morning quiet time. Start your day before the world does. No phone, no messages, just quiet. Those few minutes set the tone for focus and peace. Digital boundaries. Turn off unnecessary notifications. You don't have to respond instantly. Every alert you silence gives your mind a breath of freedom. Scheduled solitude. Block time each week to be alone. Walk, think, or simply breathe. Solitude resets your energy and restores your clarity. Mindful listening. When you talk to others, listen deeply. Don't think of what to say next. Be fully present. Silence in conversation builds understanding. Detox from opinions. Too many voices create confusion. Choose a few sources of wisdom, and let go of the rest. You don't need everyone's input to trust your own direction. When withdrawal feels difficult, the first few moments of silence can feel uncomfortable. You might feel anxious or restless. That's normal. It's your mind detoxing from constant stimulation. Just like a body feels sore after rest from overuse, Your mind feels uneasy when it slows down, but stay with it. That discomfort is a sign that healing has begun. Soon you'll find peace in places that once felt empty. You'll start to crave quiet the way others crave noise. You'll start to think clearly again, deeply, intentionally, and without rush. The power of disconnecting to reconnect. Sometimes you must disconnect to reconnect with yourself, your goals, and your values. When you remove noise, you hear truth. You rediscover what really matters. You remember why you started. You remember what you believe in. You remember that success is not about doing more. It's about being more. The world rewards the loud, but life rewards the wise. And wisdom grows best in silence. Story reflection. The Lighthouse Keeper. There was once a lighthouse keeper who lived alone on a rocky coast. Every night, storms crashed around him, but he stayed calm. When asked how he could live in such isolation, he said, "I'm never alone. The silence speaks to me." He understood something most people forget. Peace is not found by escaping the storm, but by learning to stay still while it passes. The light that guided ships wasn't born from noise. It was born from focus, care, and quiet discipline. That's what your inner light needs too. Silence to grow, focus to shine, and calm to guide others. The gift of quiet spaces. Silence gives you more than peace. It gives you perspective. It teaches you to see clearly, not through emotion but through wisdom. When you withdraw from noise, you don't lose connection to life. You deepen it. You begin to live with awareness instead of autopilot. You start noticing beauty in simple things. The rhythm of your breath, the warmth of sunlight, the calm of being present. That's not escape. That's enlightenment through stillness. Closing thought. Noise will always exist, but you don't have to live inside it. The art of withdrawing from noise is the art of reclaiming your mind. It's learning to choose peace over pressure, clarity over chaos, and presence over performance. Each time you step away from the noise, you step closer to yourself. And that, more than anything else, is where real growth begins. So today, take a moment, even just one, to turn down the volume of the world. Close your eyes, breathe, and remember, silence isn't the absence of life. It's the beginning of understanding it. Chapter 4. Working in Shadows, Shining in Light. There's a season for silence, and there's a season for showing what silence created. Every masterpiece begins in the shadows, unseen, uncelebrated, unacknowledged. That's where the real work happens. Before the light ever shines, the builder is shaping, refining, and preparing. You see, success doesn't start with applause. It starts with quiet work. It starts when no one is watching. It starts when the only audience you have is your own determination. The quiet foundation of greatness. Think of an architect designing a great building. No one sees the first sketches. No one praises the calculations, or the sleepless nights spent perfecting every detail. But when the structure finally rises, everyone admires it, forgetting that the beauty above ground depends entirely on the foundation below. Your growth works the same way. The work you do in silence, the habits, the discipline, the preparation, that's your foundation. And if it's strong, no storm can destroy what you build. Most people want to shine without the shadows. They want results without process. But the truth is simple. The shadows are where you become capable of handling the light. The hidden work behind every success. Behind every champion, there's practice no one saw. Behind every speaker, there are hours of thought, rewriting and reflection. Behind every overnight success, there are years of unseen effort. The problem is, most people quit before their light ever arrives. They grow tired of being unnoticed. They mistake the quiet stage for failure, when in reality it's training. The shadows are your rehearsal space. They're where you learn to handle mistakes, build resilience, and refine your craft. When you finally step into the light, you're not surprised by success. You're ready for it. The truth is, the shadows don't hide your greatness. They shape it. Story: The Potter's Secret. There's a story about a potter who worked in a small village. Every day, he made pots in silence, shaping clay long before sunrise. He never sold them quickly. He'd leave them to dry, then heat them slowly in the fire, testing their strength. When others asked why he took so long, he smiled and said, "If the fire is too fast, the pot will look fine, but it will crack when tested." Years later, his work became famous. People traveled miles to buy his pots, not because they were beautiful, but because they were strong. He understood something powerful. What happens unseen determines how well you stand when life's fire comes. So if no one sees your effort right now, don't rush the process. Keep shaping your craft. Keep building your character, because the quiet work you do today will one day speak louder than any words. Why the shadows matter. The shadows protect you while you're becoming. They give you space to experiment, to make mistakes, to grow without pressure. When no one is watching, you can fail freely and learn faster. You can build confidence, not from praise but from progress. When you work in shadows, you remove the need to prove. You stop performing and start perfecting. You start focusing on mastery, not attention. And that's when your growth becomes real. Because when you no longer need validation to keep going, you've found freedom. From hidden effort to visible impact. When the time comes, your results will reveal what silence has built. People will call it talent. They'll say you were lucky, but you'll know the truth. It wasn't luck. It was labor. It wasn't talent alone. It was time and tenacity. Your light will shine naturally when it's ready. You won't need to force it. You won't need to shout about it. It will simply appear. Bright, steady, undeniable. And here's the beauty. When your success finally shows, it carries quiet confidence. It doesn't need to impress anyone. It inspires instead. The balance between shadow and light. Working in silence doesn't mean hiding forever. At some point, you must bring your work into the world. But the key is timing. Light too soon blinds you. Light too late misses your moment. The secret is to shine only when you're prepared to handle visibility without losing humility. Use the shadows for shaping. Use the light for serving. The purpose of private growth is not self-promotion. It's contribution. You prepare in silence so you can lead with strength. Practical guidance. Building in the shadows. Here are steps to master the art of silent work. Work consistently, not publicly. Focus on daily effort, not daily recognition. Build a system that keeps you moving even when motivation fades. Reflect often. Use silence to analyze what's working and what isn't. Growth without reflection is repetition, not improvement. Celebrate small wins privately. You don't need to announce progress to make it real. A quiet smile is sometimes the best reward. Protect your process. Don't share unfinished dreams with unqualified critics. Let your results become your defense. Prepare for visibility. When your time comes, stay humble. Remember, light is not your goal. Impact is the transition from becoming to being. The moment you step from shadow into light is not an ending. It's a continuation. The habits you built in silence sustain you in success. If you skip the shadows, you'll crumble under the spotlight. But if you honor the unseen season, you'll rise steady, grounded and grateful. Light exposes what's weak but highlights what's strong. If your foundation is built in truth, the light will only make it brighter. Story. The dancer's moment. There was a dancer who practiced in secret every morning for years. No stage, no audience, just her reflection and her commitment. One night she finally performed in front of thousands. As the crowd rose in applause, someone asked, "How did you stay so calm?" She smiled and said, "I've already been here, in the quiet every morning when no one else was watching." That's what working in shadows does. It prepares you so deeply that when your moment comes you don't perform, you express what's already within you. Closing thought. Working in shadows isn't about staying hidden. It's about staying focused. It's about building quietly so that your work speaks when words are unnecessary. When your time comes to shine, you won't need to force attention. Your discipline will draw it naturally. Your results will speak for themselves, because those who master silence master strength. And when they finally step into the light, they don't just shine, they illuminate. Chapter 5. The strength of emotional control. There is no greater test of strength than staying calm when everything around you tries to shake you. True power is not in reacting, it's in responding. It's in having control over yourself when circumstances seem uncontrollable. Emotional control is not coldness, it's discipline of the heart. It's the ability to feel everything, but choose what deserves your energy. It's knowing that silence, not shouting, often wins the battle. The cost of reaction. Every reaction has a price. When anger speaks first, wisdom leaves the room. When impatience takes over, progress slows down. When emotions rule, reason disappears. Most people lose more to reaction than to failure. They damage relationships, lose focus, and waste time trying to fix what could have been avoided with a single pause. Emotional control doesn't mean you never feel angry, hurt, or frustrated. It means you don't let those feelings drive your decisions. You are still the driver, even when the road gets rough. The story of the warrior and the storm. There's an old story about a warrior who faced a great storm. His army panicked. They shouted. They ran in every direction. But he stood still, eyes closed, breathing slowly. When the storm passed, his soldiers asked, "How could you stay calm when everything was falling apart?" He answered, "I learned long ago that I cannot control the wind, but I can control my stance." That's the secret. You can't stop life's storms, but you can stand firm in how you face them. You can choose composure over chaos. That's real strength. Not what you can move outside, but what you can master inside. Why emotional control matters. Your emotions are powerful tools but dangerous masters. Uncontrolled, they make you impulsive. Controlled, they make you wise. Every great leader, every artist, every disciplined mind has learned this art. To feel deeply, yet act deliberately. They don't let temporary emotions destroy long-term goals. Without emotional control, success feels unstable. With it you gain clarity. You make better decisions. You see people more clearly. And you handle pressure with grace. Control doesn't mean suppression. It means direction. You guide your emotions instead of being guided by them. Understanding the source. Emotions are not random. They are signals. They reveal what matters to you. Fear points to uncertainty. Anger points to boundaries crossed. Sadness points to something that needs healing. When you stop reacting and start observing, you turn emotion into information. You move from chaos to clarity. That's how silence strengthens you. It gives space to hear what emotion is trying to teach. Practical ways to build emotional control. Here are some ways to train your emotional strength. one moment at a time. Pause before you respond. When something triggers you, take a breath. That pause is power. It gives reason time to speak before emotion takes the lead. Detach to gain perspective. Step back mentally from the situation. Ask yourself, will this matter tomorrow? Most of what angers us is temporary. Name what you feel. Saying I feel disappointed is more powerful than acting disappointed. Naming emotion weakens its control over you. Turn energy into action. Don't suppress emotions, redirect them. Turn frustration into focus. Turn fear into preparation. Turn sadness into reflection. Protect your energy. Not every argument deserves your reply. Not every insult deserves your time. Silence is not weakness. It's strategy. When silence becomes strength, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you refuse to give emotion the microphone. Silence can calm a storm faster than shouting. It creates space for thought. It allows wisdom to arrive before regret does. In relationships, in work, in conflict, silence turns reaction into reflection. It gives you time to understand what really matters before you respond. When you speak after silence, your words carry weight. They're measured, not impulsive. They build, not break. The mirror of self-mastery. Emotional control is self-mastery in motion. It's the moment you realize that power doesn't come from controlling others. It comes from controlling yourself. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you strengthen your foundation. Every time you resist reacting, you build confidence. And every time you respond with patience, you become harder to shake. People will notice your stillness. They'll wonder how you stay composed when others lose balance. That's your strength speaking, without words. It's the quiet power that silence teaches. The story of the bridge builder. A man once built a bridge across a deep river. Every day, people crossed safely. One night, a flood came and nearly destroyed it. The man didn't panic. He worked through the night, reinforcing the base stone by stone. When morning came, the bridge still stood. Someone asked, "Weren't you afraid it would collapse?" He said, "Fear came, yes. But I was too busy strengthening the foundation to listen." That's emotional control, focusing on what you can build instead of what you can't stop. It's responding to pressure with purpose, not panic. The silent power of calm. Calm doesn't mean passive, it means powerful, because when others are loud, calm people lead. They see opportunities that panic hides. They find solutions that anger destroys. Calm minds make clear moves, and clear moves create success. That's why emotional control is not just personal growth. It's a strategy for life. Practical reflection. Training your emotional core. Take a few minutes each day to reflect in silence. Ask yourself, what emotion ruled me today? Did I guide it, or did it guide me? Awareness is the beginning of change. The more you practice noticing your emotions without judgment, the more control you gain over them. Over time, you'll find that what once triggered you now teaches you. Closing thought. Emotional control is not built overnight. It's built moment by moment, in small choices, quiet pauses, and disciplined restraint. You can't always choose what happens to you, but you can always choose how you respond. And in that choice lies freedom. When you master your emotions, you master your world. You become unshakable in chaos, graceful in conflict, and calm in the storm. Because silence gives you strength, patience gives you power, and control gives you peace. That's the kind of quiet greatness the world cannot ignore. Chapter 6. Private Victories Before Public Success. Every great success story begins long before the world sees it, before the applause, before the recognition, before the light. There are quiet battles, invisible, personal victories that prepare the soul for greatness. The truth is simple. Public success is only the shadow of private discipline. If you don't win the small battles in silence, you'll never stand tall when the world is watching. The unseen preparation. You can't skip the unseen. Every strong performance is born from long private practice. Every confident voice comes from countless hours of quiet preparation. A musician doesn't walk onto the stage without mastering the notes in solitude. An athlete doesn't win the game without training when no one's in the stands. A thinker doesn't inspire others without wrestling with doubt in silence. Those unseen moments, when no one claps, no one cares, and no one's looking, that's where the foundation of greatness is built. You must win in private before you ever win in public. Story: The Runner in the Rain. There was once a young runner who trained every morning before dawn. Rain or shine, he ran the same route. One day his neighbor called out, "Why do you run when no one's watching?" The runner smiled and said, "Because when the crowd finally does, I'll already be ready." That's the essence of private victory. You don't do it to be seen. You do it to be prepared. You do it because consistency in silence turns into confidence in the spotlight. The hidden law of success. There's a universal law of success. Private effort always comes before public reward. It's not magic. It's cause and effect. When you build habits of excellence in private, success becomes inevitable in public. You can't plant laziness and expect a harvest of greatness. You can't skip the process and still expect the prize. Every late-night effort, every quiet hour of learning, every moment of self-discipline, it's all recorded, silently, in the book of preparation. And when opportunity appears, those private victories rise to meet it. The power of consistency. Consistency is the bridge between invisible effort and visible results. The world might not see you working, but the world will feel the results of your work. Consistency doesn't shout. It whispers. It says, "I'll do it again today," even when it's boring, even when it's hard, even when no one notices. Most people quit too soon because they measure progress by attention instead of growth. But success doesn't bloom on demand. It grows slowly, quietly, through steady care, like roots beneath the soil, unseen but essential. The discipline of doing what others won't. Private victories are born in moments others avoid. While others sleep, you study. While others scroll, you plan. While others talk, you work. It's not about comparison. It's about commitment. When you learn to keep promises to yourself, even small ones, you build integrity. That's what creates quiet confidence, knowing you've done the work, even when no one was keeping score. The world doesn't need to see your preparation to validate it. Your growth is your proof. Your consistency is your evidence. Your peace is your prize. Turning private practice into public power. When you finally step into the world, your private victories show through everything you do. They show in your patience, in your tone, in your timing, in your quiet certainty. You can always tell who's been doing the work in private. They don't need to prove it. Their calm speaks louder than words. Their results carry quiet authority. They shine, not because they chase the spotlight, but because they've spent enough time in the dark learning how to handle it. Story: The Painter's Years. There was once a painter who spent years practicing in a small studio. He painted hundreds of canvases, none of which he sold. Friends told him to give up, to do something practical, but he kept painting. refining, learning. One day an art critic discovered his work. Within a year, his paintings were on gallery walls across the world. When asked how success came so suddenly, he replied, "It wasn't sudden. It just became visible." That's what private victories do. They build invisible excellence that one day can no longer be ignored. Practical ways to cultivate private victories. Here are simple but powerful ways to win quietly every day. Start small and stay consistent. Big results come from small, repeated actions. Do one thing daily that moves you closer to mastery. Keep promises to yourself. When you say you'll do something, do it. Each promise kept strengthens your trust in yourself. Celebrate the unseen wins. You don't need approval to validate progress. Smile at small victories. They're proof that you're building momentum. Journal your growth. Write what you've learned, not what you've shown. Tracking quiet progress builds gratitude and awareness. Stay humble. When recognition comes, remember, the light is only as strong as the discipline that fuels it. Stay grounded in the silence that built you. When the world finally notices, the day will come when the world sees your work. It might happen slowly, or all at once, but when it does, it won't surprise you. You'll be ready. You'll know the weight of your preparation. You'll know the nights of doubt you overcame. You'll know the countless times you stayed consistent when it didn't seem to matter. That's why public success feels so different for those who've earned it. They don't crave attention. They respect the process. They understand the light is a gift earned through years of quiet growth. The inner shift. Private victories don't just prepare you for success. They transform who you are. You become dependable. You become patient. You become peaceful. You no longer need to prove yourself to the world. You just live from quiet confidence, knowing your work speaks for you. You understand that true success isn't about fame or applause. It's about fulfillment. It's about the pride of knowing you gave your best, even when no one was watching. Closing thought. Private victories are the foundation of every meaningful success. Without them, public recognition fades quickly. But when your roots are deep, built on discipline, effort, and integrity, your growth lasts. So work quietly, build daily, win privately, and when the moment comes to stand in the light, you won't have to announce your greatness. Your presence will say it for you. Because what the world calls overnight success is simply the moment when your private victories finally step into view. Chapter 7. Discipline. In the dark. Discipline is what you do when no one is watching. It's the silent strength that builds champions, shapes leaders, and transforms ordinary people into extraordinary ones. Anyone can be motivated in the spotlight. But true growth happens in the dark, when the crowd is gone, when the applause fades, and it's just you and your choices. That's where discipline lives, and that's where character is built. The nature of real discipline. Discipline is not a mood. It's not something you feel. It's something you decide. Motivation is temporary. It's like fire, bright but quick to fade. Discipline is different. It's the steady heat that keeps you moving when motivation disappears. When you act with discipline, you train your mind to follow your values, not your feelings. You do what must be done, not just what feels good. That's the difference between wishful thinking and real progress. The quiet battle within. The hardest battles you'll ever fight happen inside you. No one sees them. No one praises them. But those are the battles that decide your future. The battle between comfort and commitment, between excuses and execution, between the voice that says I'll do it later, and the one that whispers do it now. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you win a silent victory. No one claps. No one posts about it. But your life changes a little more each time. Story: The Writer in the Night. There was once a writer who worked every night after his family went to bed. He sat in the dim light, typing words no one would read. Not yet. For years he wrote in silence. He faced doubt, fatigue and rejection, but he kept showing up. One day his book was published. It sold millions. People called him an overnight success, but he smiled, because he knew the truth. Success didn't start the night the world noticed. It started years before, in the dark when no one cared. But he refused to quit. That's discipline in the dark. The daily commitment to your vision, even when no one sees or believes it yet. Why the dark is necessary. The dark is not your enemy. It's your training ground. It's where you strengthen your habits, sharpen your mind, and learn who you really are. Without the dark, you can't appreciate the light. Without solitude, you can't build focus. Without resistance, you can't develop strength. Discipline thrives in difficulty because that's where excuses die. It's in those quiet hours when no one's watching that you discover how badly you really want your goals. The power of daily commitment. You don't become disciplined by making huge decisions once in a while. You become disciplined by making small right choices every day. Waking up when you said you would. Finishing what you started. Keeping promises to yourself. Each act of discipline adds to your strength like a drop of water filling a bucket. Alone it doesn't look like much, but over time it overflows into mastery. Consistency is the secret. You don't need perfection. You need persistence. Even slow progress is progress, as long as you don't stop. The role of silence in building discipline. Silence and discipline are close friends. Silence removes distraction. It gives you space to think, to plan, and to act with purpose. When you practice silence, you build awareness, and awareness strengthens discipline. You begin to notice when your mind makes excuses. You learn to pause before giving in. You start guiding yourself with intention rather than impulse. In silence, the noise of procrastination fades, and what remains is clarity, the quiet conviction to keep going, even when no one's there to push you. Story: The Boxer and the Mirror. There was a young boxer who trained in a small gym far from the spotlight, while others bragged about their strength. He focused on technique. Every night, he shadow boxed in front of a mirror, perfecting each move. One day, he was asked why he practiced so intensely when no one was watching. He said, "Because when the lights turn on, I won't have time to think. I'll just perform what I've practiced." That's the power of discipline in the dark. When you prepare in silence, performance becomes natural. You don't rise to the occasion. You rise to the level of your preparation. Practical ways to build discipline in the dark. Here are simple but powerful ways to strengthen your discipline when no one is watching. Create a routine you can keep. Start small. Pick habits that are realistic, then repeat them daily. Consistency matters more than intensity. Hold yourself accountable. Don't wait for others to check on you. Be your own supervisor. Self-respect grows from self-accountability. Remove temptations early. Make discipline easier by designing your environment for focus. Silence distractions before they steal your attention. Reward progress, not perfection. Celebrate showing up. Progress builds momentum. Perfection builds pressure. Remember why you started. When the dark feels lonely, revisit your purpose. Discipline fades when the reason is forgotten. The emotional side of discipline. Discipline is not just physical, it's emotional. There will be days when you feel tired, unmotivated or lost. But discipline reminds you that feelings are temporary, and purpose is permanent. It's not about never feeling weak. It's about choosing strength, despite the weakness. That choice, repeated over and over, becomes identity. You stop saying, "I'm trying to be disciplined." You start saying, "I am disciplined." That's when the dark no longer feels heavy. It feels empowering. When the results are not yet visible, sometimes you'll give your best effort and see nothing change. That's when most people quit. But not you, because you understand the law of silent growth. What's unseen is still working. Like roots beneath the ground, your effort is forming strength, structure, and depth. Keep watering it. Keep believing. Keep showing up. Results don't appear to those who look for them daily. They appear to those who work for them daily, without needing to look. Story: the sculptor's patience. A sculptor once spent months carving a statue from a single block of marble. Every day people passed by and saw no progress. They mocked him, saying, "You've done nothing." He simply smiled and kept working. Then one day he chipped a small piece away, and the figure revealed itself. The crowd gasped. Someone asked, "How did you create something so beautiful so suddenly?" He replied, "It wasn't sudden. It was silent." That's what discipline does. It shapes you slowly, quietly, until one day, the world finally sees the masterpiece you've been building in the dark. Closing thought: discipline in the dark is not glamorous. It's repetitive. It's lonely. It's often unnoticed. But it's also where greatness is born. When you can do the work without needing the reward, you've already become the kind of person success cannot ignore. So keep working in silence. Keep showing up when no one's watching. Keep building when it feels like nothing's changing. Because every silent act of discipline, every early morning, every late night, every moment you refuse to quit, is preparing you for a light so bright that when it comes you'll be ready to shine without fear. That's the reward of discipline in the dark. You don't just build success, you build yourself. Chapter 8. Protecting your vision. Every dream begins as a small seed, fragile, private, and full of potential. But not every seed survives. Some get trampled by doubt. Some are stolen by distraction, and some never grow because they were shared too soon with people who couldn't see what you saw. That's why protecting your vision is not selfish. It's sacred. It's how you give your dream a chance to grow before the world starts questioning it. The fragility of a new dream. In the beginning, your vision is young. It's like a flame in the wind, bright but easily extinguished. It doesn't need attention. It needs protection. Most people fail, not because their dream was impossible, but because they let too many voices shape it. They shared it with the wrong people. People who couldn't understand it. People who couldn't imagine it. People who deep down were afraid you might succeed. Your dream doesn't need permission. It needs patience. And patience grows best in silence. Story: the inventor's silence. There once was an inventor who had an idea years ahead of his time. He shared it with friends who laughed. They said it would never work. For a while he believed them, but the idea wouldn't leave him alone. So he stopped talking and started building. He worked quietly for years until his creation was finished. When he finally revealed it, the world called him a genius. He smiled and said, "They couldn't see it when I told them. So I stopped talking and let them see it when it was ready." That's the wisdom of protecting your vision. Don't waste energy convincing others. Spend it creating proof. Why silence guards clarity? Every time you share your vision, you invite opinions. And every opinion, even well-intentioned, can dilute your focus. Too many voices can make your path blurry. Silence keeps your mind clear. It helps you listen to your own conviction. It allows your vision to mature in peace. Think of it like developing a photograph. If exposed to light too soon, it fades. But if given time in darkness, it develops fully. Sharp, clear, beautiful. Your vision works the same way. The distraction trap. The modern world thrives on exposure. Share everything. Post everything. Announce everything. But exposure without readiness leads to pressure, not progress. When you talk too early, you start performing for approval instead of working for mastery. The moment your dream becomes content for others, it stops being fuel for you. Protect your vision by guarding your attention. Don't let validation replace creation. Stay focused on the work, not the audience. The power of selective sharing. Protecting your vision doesn't mean isolation. It means discernment. You can share your goals, but only with those who support growth, not gossip. Find people who listen with understanding, not judgment. Those who challenge you to think better, not quit sooner. A single believer is more powerful than 100 doubters. Choose your circle carefully, because who you tell determines whether your dream grows or withers. Story: The Gardener's Lesson. A gardener once planted rare seeds in his backyard. He covered them carefully, watered them daily, and waited. One day, a neighbor asked what he was growing. The gardener said, "You'll see when it blooms." Months later, vibrant flowers filled the yard. The neighbor said, "Why didn't you tell me before?" The gardener smiled. "Because when something is still growing, it's too delicate for discussion." That's how dreams work. They need time underground before they're strong enough to face the wind. Guarding against negativity. Not everyone who hears your vision will want you to win. Some will doubt it. Some will dismiss it. Some will secretly envy it. And if you're not careful, their disbelief can become your inner voice. That's why silence is protection. It creates space between their doubt and your destiny. When you protect your vision, you protect your energy, the drive that turns ideas into action. Doubt doesn't disappear, but it loses its influence. Practical ways to protect your vision. Here are daily principles to keep your dream safe and growing. Keep it private until it's strong. Share less. Build more. Let your progress, not your plans, make the announcement. Write it down instead of talking about it. Keep a journal for your goals. Writing strengthens focus. Talking too soon weakens it. Choose your circle wisely. Seek quiet mentors, not noisy critics. Surround yourself with people who inspire action, not opinion. Feed your vision daily. Read, learn, and act on ideas that align with your dream. Protect your mind from content that distracts or discourages you. Trust timing over approval. Don't rush exposure. Every dream has a season. Let yours grow roots before it grows wings. The inner work of faith. Protecting your vision is really an act of faith. Faith that your work matters, even when no one sees it. Faith that your effort will pay off, even when progress feels slow. Faith that silence doesn't mean failure, it means preparation. You're not hiding from the world, you're honoring the process. You're giving your vision space to breathe and strength to stand. Story: The Architect's Blueprint. An architect once designed a magnificent building. When asked why construction took so long, he said, "Because I'm building something that must last beyond me." He spent more time on the blueprint than the actual walls. He knew that once the foundation was right, everything else would stand firm. Your vision is your blueprint. Protect it. Study it. Adjust it in silence until it's ready to hold your dreams without collapsing under pressure. When the world finally sees, one day your vision will speak for itself. You won't have to defend it. You won't have to explain it. It will simply exist, undeniable, clear, and powerful. People will call it success, but you'll know it was protection that made it possible. You'll remember the quiet nights, the private effort, and the decision to stay silent until it was time to speak. Closing thought. Protecting your vision is an act of wisdom. It's choosing growth over validation, purpose over performance, and patience over pressure. Every dream needs a season of silence, a sacred time to grow without interruption. So guard your focus, honor your process, and remember, the dream you protect in silence today becomes the legacy that speaks for you tomorrow. Because in the end, the strongest visions aren't shouted from rooftops. They're built in silence and revealed in strength. Chapter 9. Listening to the voice within. There is a voice inside you that never shouts. It doesn't compete with noise. It waits. Quiet, patient, steady. That voice knows who you are. It knows what you're capable of. It knows the difference between what feels safe and what feels right. But most people never hear it. They're too busy listening to everything else. The noise of opinions, the pressure of comparison, the constant rush of the world. They lose touch with the one voice that truly matters. Their own, the lost connection. From the moment we wake up, the world starts talking. Messages, advertisements, notifications. Everyone wants your attention. You're told what success looks like, how you should live, who you should be, and somewhere between all that noise, your inner voice gets buried. You stop asking, "What do I want?" and start asking, "What will they think?" Listening to the voice within means returning home, to clarity, to truth, to peace. Because only in silence can you hear yourself again. The language of intuition. Your inner voice doesn't use words. It speaks through feelings, impressions, and quiet nudges. It tells you when something is right, even if it doesn't make sense. It warns you when something is wrong, even when it looks perfect. That's intuition. It's not magic. It's awareness. Your mind and heart working together. The more you ignore it, the weaker it becomes. The more you trust it, the stronger it grows. That's why silence is powerful. It gives space for that voice to rise above the noise. Story. The climber's choice. There was once a mountain climber who joined a group heading for the summit. Halfway up, a storm began. The leader said, "We push on." But the climber's instincts whispered, "Wait." The others continued. He stayed behind, listening to that quiet warning inside. Hours later, the storm intensified, and the group had to turn back. When the climber finally reached the top days later, he understood. Sometimes the smallest voice is the one that saves you. That's what happens when you listen within. It may not always make sense to others, but it will always make sense to you. Why most people ignore the inner voice? People ignore their inner voice because it often says things that are hard to hear. It tells you when it's time to let go. It tells you when you've settled for less. It tells you to change, and change is uncomfortable. So we drown it out with noise. We fill our days with distractions, so we never have to sit still and face what it says. But silence doesn't create confusion, it reveals it. And if you have the courage to listen, you'll find that your inner voice doesn't criticize you. It guides you. It calls you toward growth. The role of solitude. Solitude is the classroom where your inner voice teaches. When you spend time alone, without screens, without distractions, something powerful happens. Your thoughts begin to settle. Your priorities become clear. You realize that much of what you worried about never really mattered, and the things that do matter rise to the surface, calm and certain. That's why silence and solitude are not escapes. They're returns to focus, to truth, to alignment with your purpose. How to recognize the inner voice. There's a difference between your inner voice and your inner noise. Noise is reactive. It's filled with fear, anxiety, and self-doubt. It shouts, "You can't." But your inner voice is calm. It whispers, "You can." The voice within won't force you. It invites you. It nudges you toward better choices. It reminds you of what's right when the world tells you what's easy. When you feel peace, even in uncertainty, that's your inner voice speaking. Story: The Artist's Return. An artist once stopped painting because critics said her work wasn't marketable. Years later, she felt empty, disconnected from herself. One day she sat in silence, brush in hand, staring at a blank canvas. A quiet thought came: paint what you love, not what they want. She listened. She painted from her heart. Those paintings later became her most successful works. That's the reward of following your inner guidance. It reconnects you to your truth, and truth always leads to purpose. Practical ways to hear the voice within. Here are a few ways to reconnect with your inner guidance. Create quiet moments. Daily. Spend 10 minutes each day, without noise or distraction. Let your thoughts settle. The voice you hear after the noise fades, that's the one that matters. Write before you think. Journaling helps bypass overthinking. Don't plan what to write. Just let your thoughts flow. You'll be surprised how often your truth appears in your own words. Listen to how you feel, not just what you think. Your emotions are signals, not enemies. Pay attention to what energizes you and what drains you. Your inner voice often speaks through those feelings. Ask simple questions. In silence, ask, what do I truly want? What's the next right step? Then stay still long enough to hear the answer. Trust the whisper when something feels deeply right. Even if others disagree, follow it. Wisdom rarely shouts. It whispers. When the voice is hard to hear, there will be times when your inner voice feels silent. Don't mistake that for absence. Sometimes silence is the answer itself. It's telling you to pause, to wait, to trust. Clarity doesn't always come quickly, but if you keep showing up, if you keep quieting the noise, it will return, calm, steady, and sure. The voice within never leaves. You just have to slow down enough to meet it again. The courage to follow it. Listening is only half the journey. The other half is courage. The courage to follow what you hear. Your inner voice will often lead you away from comfort. It may guide you toward risk, change, or solitude. But every step it suggests leads closer to your purpose. Don't wait for others to understand it. They weren't meant to hear it. You were. That's why it speaks to you, not them. When you follow it, your path may not be easy, but it will be honest. And an honest path always leads to peace. Closing thought. The voice within is your greatest teacher. It doesn't demand attention. It earns it through truth. It doesn't speak often, only when you're ready to listen. So make time for silence. Let the world grow quiet for a while, and in that stillness, listen, truly listen to the voice that has been guiding you all along. Because every great transformation begins not with a shout from the world, but with a whisper from within. Chapter 10. The Quiet Rebirth. Every ending carries the seed of a new beginning. But rebirth doesn't always arrive with noise or celebration. It often comes quietly, in moments of reflection, realization, and renewal. You don't always notice it happening. There's no applause, no sudden light. Just a sense that something inside you has shifted, that who you were yesterday no longer fits who you're becoming today. That's the quiet rebirth, the transformation that happens within, long before the world ever sees it, the silent turning point. Real change rarely begins with a grand event. It begins in a moment of honesty, a pause, a breath, a decision to stop running and start listening. Maybe it happens after a mistake. Maybe it begins when you finally get tired of pretending. Or maybe it starts when you realize that silence is not emptiness. It's space. Space to think. Space to grow. Space to begin again. Rebirth isn't about becoming someone new. It's about returning to the truth of who you've always been. Beneath the noise. Beneath the pressure. Beneath the expectations. Story. The potter's second creation. There was once a potter who made a vase he thought was perfect. But one day, it fell and shattered into pieces. He sat in silence, staring at the fragments. Days passed. Then he gathered the broken pieces and began to rebuild, not by hiding the cracks, but by filling them with gold. When the vase was finished, it was even more beautiful than before. The breaks didn't ruin it. They revealed its strength. That's the essence of a quiet rebirth. You don't erase your past. You refine it. You use the pieces of what once broke you to create something stronger, wiser, and more complete. The process of inner renewal. Rebirth is not a sudden leap. It's a gradual rising. It begins when you start letting go of what no longer serves you. Old habits, old fears, old stories that once defined you. You realize that growth is not about adding more. It's about releasing what weighs you down. When you remove the unnecessary, what's essential begins to shine. This is the beauty of silence. It gives you space to sort what stays and what goes. You begin to rebuild, not from pressure, but from peace. When stillness feels like stagnation, there are seasons when life feels quiet. Too quiet. You wonder if you're stuck. You question whether progress is happening at all. But growth often hides in stillness. Just as winter hides the work of spring beneath the soil, your quiet season is preparing you for renewal. You may not see movement, but transformation is happening beneath the surface. Your roots are deepening. Your spirit is realigning. Your foundation is forming. The silence you fear is the space that's shaping your next chapter. Letting go to rise again. Rebirth requires release. You can't carry the old into the new. You must let go of guilt, of resentment, of the need to control outcomes. Letting go is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's saying, this no longer defines me. It's trusting that who you're becoming deserves the space to breathe. Every time you release what no longer serves you, you rise a little higher. You step closer to the person you were always meant to be. Story. The Phoenix in the Ashes. There's a legend of a phoenix, a bird that burns in fire, only to rise again from its ashes. But the story isn't about destruction. It's about renewal. The fire represents transformation, burning away what's false so that what's real can emerge. You are no different. The challenges you've faced, the losses you've endured, they are not the end of you. They are the refining fires that prepare you to rise stronger, clearer, and more certain of your purpose. Every difficulty that once felt like an ending may one day be remembered as your beginning. The inner markers of rebirth. You'll know you're entering your quiet rebirth when a few things begin to change. You start craving peace more than attention. You feel less need to prove, and more desire to grow. You begin saying no to things that don't align with your values. You find yourself drawn to simplicity, to truth, to silence, to purpose. You realize that the real reward isn't external success, it's internal stability. The calm confidence of knowing you're walking in alignment with your true self. Practical ways to nurture renewal. Reflect often. Make time each day to think, journal, or simply sit in silence. Reflection helps you see what needs to change and what needs to stay. Forgive yourself. Don't punish yourself for past mistakes. They were lessons. You can't rebuild if you keep reliving what broke you. Simplify your life. Remove clutter, physical, emotional and mental. The fewer distractions you carry, the easier it is to focus on what matters. Recommit to your values. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be? Align your daily actions with that answer. Stay patient. Renewal takes time. Don't rush the process. Every quiet day is part of your transformation. The gift of the quiet rebirth. Rebirth doesn't make you perfect. It makes you aware. It reconnects you to your purpose. It reminds you that every fall can become the start of a rise, if you choose to learn instead of give up. And when you come through the silence, you'll find that you don't need to announce your growth. Your presence will say it for you. Your peace will prove it. Your discipline will carry it. Story. The musician's pause. A musician once stopped playing after years of success. People thought he'd lost his passion, but he hadn't. He was just listening again. Not to the noise of the world but to the rhythm within his soul. When he returned, his music sounded different, deeper, wiser. It wasn't louder. It was more meaningful. He didn't reinvent himself. He rediscovered himself. That's what the quiet rebirth does. It doesn't change who you are. It reveals who you've always been. Closing thought. The quiet rebirth is the final gift of silence. It's the moment when the stillness that once felt heavy begins to feel holy. You understand that the pauses in life are not wasted. They're sacred. Because in the quiet, you didn't just rebuild your goals. You rebuilt yourself. So as you rise, remember where you came from. The silence, the solitude, the unseen effort. Carry that peace with you. Let it guide you, shape you, and strengthen you. Because the world doesn't need another loud success story. It needs more people who've learned to rise quietly, powerfully and purposefully. That is the true meaning of a quiet rebirth. It's not about starting over. It's about starting truer. Conclusion. Let your success make the noise. There comes a point in every journey when words are no longer needed. When you've done the work. When you've kept your promises to yourself. When silence has shaped you into someone unrecognizable. Stronger, wiser, quieter. That's when it's time to let your success speak for you. The power of quiet results. You don't need to announce what you're building. You don't need to explain your vision or defend your progress. When the time is right, your results will reveal everything. The person who works in silence doesn't need validation. They earn respect, because when success finally appears, it carries the weight of discipline, patience and private effort. No noise required. The loud achieve attention. The quiet achieve results. And in the end, results always speak louder. Story. The farmer's harvest. There was a farmer who worked his land in silence. While others talked about their crops, he tended his soil day after day. He didn't brag. He didn't boast. He just worked. When harvest season came, his fields were full, golden and abundant. People asked how he did it. He smiled and said, "While you were talking, I was planting." That's the message of this entire journey. Plant in silence. Water with consistency, and let the results bloom in time. The discipline behind every triumph. Success is not luck. It's repetition. It's small acts of commitment, performed quietly and consistently, when no one is clapping. It's the choice to stay calm when others panic, to focus when others drift, to keep moving when progress feels invisible. Discipline doesn't shout. It whispers. It says, "Do it again." And the more you listen to that whisper, the louder your results will echo in the world. Silence as strength. Silence doesn't mean the absence of action. It means the presence of focus. It's where you refine your craft, rebuild your confidence, and rediscover your purpose. You don't need to prove your progress to anyone. Those who truly understand will see it without you saying a word. And those who don't, never mattered to your growth anyway. Silence protects your peace. It preserves your energy, and in the end it becomes your power. Story: The Builder's Light. A builder once worked through the night, constructing a lighthouse on a lonely shore. People mocked him, saying, "No one will notice your work in the dark." But he kept building. When dawn came, the light he built guided ships safely home. He didn't need to say a thing. His work spoke for him. That's what happens when you stay consistent. The world eventually sees the light you've been creating in silence. How to live the lesson. Here are principles to carry with you beyond this book. Let effort replace explanation. You don't need to convince people, just keep showing results. Consistency is the best argument. Stay grounded in purpose. Let your why anchor you when challenges arise. Noise fades. Purpose remains. Honor the process. Every silent day counts. Every quiet victory matters. Greatness grows slowly and silently. Lead by example, not words. Influence isn't built through speeches. It's built through behavior. Stay humble. When the light arrives, remember who you became in the dark. Let gratitude keep you steady as your success grows louder. From silence to significance. Your silence was never a weakness. It was strategy. It allowed you to focus on becoming instead of performing. And now, every quiet choice, every unseen effort, every private victory has prepared you for what's next. You don't need to chase the spotlight. You are the light, built by discipline, shaped by patience and strengthened by solitude. Your success doesn't need to scream. It simply needs to shine. Closing reflection. So when the world finally notices you, stay calm. Smile quietly. Remember the seasons of silence that made you who you are. You don't owe anyone an explanation for how far you've come. Your life is your proof. Your peace is your reward. And your growth, that's your statement. Keep working. Keep building. Keep shining. Because the greatest sound you'll ever make is the quiet confidence of a life that speaks for itself. Let your success make the noise, and let your silence remain your strength.